Hi, everyone. Welcome to another session of the Edward Jones Chatting Cage. I'm JB in New York. We're coast to coast with this one. Oakland catcher Derek Norris steps in the cage to take his cuts, and we know the backstops can usually swing pretty well. Derek, you excited? Looking forward to a session of the Chatting Cage?
Absolutely. You know, I've heard a lot about this, but I've never had a chance to really get involved. I like it so far. It's pretty cool.
All right. We're off to a good start. I'll take that as a good sign. Folks, you know what to do. Get your webcam fired up. Join us here in the cage. We'll go to Twitter in the meantime. And if you're looking for him, he is D_no36. You can figure out how that all came about pretty much. I'm sure it's pretty self-explanatory. So let's go to the first question. I love this one. Looks like it's from a young pitcher. Maybe a young backstop. Jones pitcher 94. Derek, would you rather attack an opponent's weakness or stick with your pitcher's strength?
Well, it's those kind of go hand in hand. I think when you try and call a game for the pitcher that day, you want to use his strengths towards the hitter's weaknesses. That's kind of they kind of go hand in hand. So I mean, for instance, if a guy's got a good slider and the hitter's got a weak spot inside, you're going to want to throw some sliders down to the back foot of that hitter to try and get him out.
All right, there you go. We are underway. The machine has fired out the first pitch. Derek has answered, and we are underway at the Edward Jones Chatting Cage. Fans, get those webcams fired up. Join us here in this session. There you go, just like this fan here. What's your name? Where you from? What is your question for Derek?
Hi, I'm Kyle from Florida. My question is, what other sports do you do in the off-season to stay in shape?
Well, the one thing that I really love to do is I love to golf. That's really not really into stay in shape, but that's one sport that I do love to do in the off season, and I do it quite a bit.
No, stop.
We have our off time to travel and golf.
Our young Kyle with a great question, what Derek does in the offseason, and then it looked like either mom or sibling came in to be a part of the cage and grabbed those headphones. We thank him for that question. And obviously, Derek, golfing and baseball tend to go together pretty well. Who's you got somebody you go out there with from the team?
Well, a guy that just came over this year, actually, Luke Gregerson is a real good friend of mine. We got pretty close in spring training, and we kind of just hit it off. And he's usually my golfing buddy when we go out. If we go out in just a twosome, or if we go and challenge another, twosome, that's usually my partner.
It's good to know as we set up the rounds of golf that we have to play every now and again. This is the Edward Jones Chatting Cage. I'm JB. Most importantly, that's Derek Norris of the Oakland A's answering your questions. We go back to Twitter right now. This one from Show Me Some Love 3. And this, I'll be interested in this because it's such a team. You guys are such a team of players. The question, though, Derek, is who's the most clutch player in the Oakland lineup?
Well, it's really hard just to pick out just one. I mean, you look at what our team does, it's someone different every night. But, I mean, since I've been here, it's hard to argue with, Coco Crisp. I mean, for some reason, when he's got a knack, even if he's struggling or whatever the case may be, whenever we've needed a big hit or a guy to start us off when we're maybe in a team slump, he's always a guy that seems like he comes through and sometimes it goes overnoticed at what time he comes through with the big hit, but he's in my mind, he's always been probably the most clutch guy since I've been here.
There you have it, folks. That is the answer to that Twitter question from Derek Norris. This is the Edward Jones Chatting Cage. I'm JB. That's D_no36 answering your questions. We got another fan with us. What's your name? Where you're from? What's your question for Derek?
What's up, Derek? I'm Alex from Petaluma. I'm just wondering what specifically you've done to increase right-handed hitting and all that sort of stuff, and what do you expect from Brad Mills tonight?
From the hitting aspect, I think that I'm getting some more consistent at-bats off right-handers, which makes it a little bit easier when you don't see one for a while and you're in a platoon and you see a righty. That slider tends to look a little better on occasion than it does if you're in there consecutive days or whatnot. From Mills, I see a corky left-hander that's, he's got a little bit of funk about him. He's got a little bit of quirkiness in his delivery, and I think deception is going to be key for him tonight in keeping these guys off balance.
We charge right along with another fan. What's your name? Where you're from? What's your question for Derek?
Hey, what's up, Derek? I'm Sterling from Bristol, Virginia. And my first question is, are we long-lost brothers?
Sorry, I can't hear you. Speak up a little bit for me.
Derek can't quite see you, so he doesn't know what you're referring to. Where he's got the spot-on A's hat and almost a cloned beard of yours, Derek. So I think he asked you if you guys were long-lost brothers first. Which
that was my first question. Yeah, I'm a bit beardly. Me and my dad are big fans. He asks me when I'm going to get rid of my Derek Norris look all the time. But my other question is, I'm just wondering, what's your favorite song or band to get pumped up before a game?
You know what? I've grown quite fond of Volbeat. Gregerson, one of my buddies, a reliever here on the team, introduced me to that, and just the sound of that rocker's voice, just kind of something about it just kind of gets me going, and that's usually what we listen to trying to get up and ready for a game.
There we have it. Another great question from a fan, and the beards are uncannily similar. The Derek Norris beard. There's been a lot of Twitter about it, so I'm just going to follow up on it. How it's had many incarnations. Has there been a favorite, and has there ever been a moment in which you've thought maybe the beard's got to go?
You know what? If I played somewhere where it was probably warmer, I would probably be more apt to probably trim it up at least. But because of the fact that, you know, it's so mild and the weather's so consistent here that it keeps me pretty cool, and you just fight through it if you have to go on a rough road trip. So fortunately for me, I stay pretty cool here in the Bay, so it makes it easy.
There you go. Climate has a lot of impact, a lot of aspects of the game. That's one of them. These are the things you learn in the chatting cage, folks. Another fan steps into the cage. What's your name? Where you're from? What's your question for Derek?
I'm Carson. I'm from Hayward, and I just want to know what kind of conditioner you use in your beard, because mine doesn't look as good.
Well, I don't condition it at all. I just kind of I have a knack for having extremely soft facial hair, so I've never really had to condition it much. But I actually got some beard stuff here. I don't know how I'd get it to you, but it's beard conditioning and beard oil. It's supposed to keep it nice and soft and straight so it's can form naturally around your face.
Fantastic.
There you go. Fantastic. Fans getting not just baseball information and advice, but grooming products and presentation. This is what we want. This is what happens in the cage. Sometimes these are things that take you over. Thematically, you can't control that. I will go back, though, and ask, because you talked about earlier making some adjustments from one side of the plate versus the other one. And I always like to know, because baseball sort of has big results, but it takes small steps to get there. What's been that small thing for you that's helped you most to have the biggest difference at the plate?
Well, I think for me, when I first came up in the big leagues a couple years ago in 2012, I didn't have a consistent routine. It varied from day to day. It changed depending on how I felt. You know, I'd take more swings if I wasn't feeling good. I wouldn't take as many if I, was feeling good. And then I got to the point last year where I took the same routines in every single day, and I just repeated the same routines over and over again to the point where I was doing the same thing every single day, and I felt the same every single day, and I wasn't feeling as, up and down, up and down. I stayed a little more consistent, and I think that's been the biggest thing for me.
Well, thanks for that, because it's one of those things I don't think fans fully grasp how many sort of detail-oriented bits of work go into becoming successful. So I always like to try to find that out from the players. I'll go back to Twitter now. Got to catch them all. That's pretty good for a catcher question. And this is an opinion one. We'll see how you fall on this. Do you think catcher is the hardest position to play in Major League Baseball?
I'm obviously going to be a little biased because I'm back there, but there's a lot of demanding positions on the field. But I think physically, as far as the stress that you put on your body, I feel like physically that is probably the most draining position because of block in, foul balls, this and that. You get beat up pretty good from time to time. I think as far as the toughest position on the field on one night could be a pitcher, the fact that they have to go out there and face all these guys. So, I mean, it is a matter of opinion, but as far as physically, I think the catchers get beat up the most, and it makes the most toll on your body.
That's pretty well said, and, pretty graciously said for a backstop to acknowledge the other guys play it rough as well.
I try and be modest.
It's important as a teammate. If you want pitchers to listen to you, every once in a while, you got to say, they're pretty tough, too. We got another fan with us right now.
Yeah, you got to back them up.
What's your name, fan? Where you from? What's your question for Derek?
Hi, Derek. My name's Kyle from Oakland, and my question is, what's the best piece of advice you've ever been given?
There's a lot of them, but I'd say, be the same guy. You find a lot of guys that they start off, coming from small towns or whatever, and they make it to, as far as status, they get to a high level in popularity, and throughout the game of baseball become very successful. And I've always been taught, be the same person. Don't change just because you have success. Don't change your personality. Always be the same guy through ups and downs.
Be the same through ups and downs. That works pretty much on the baseball field and in all walks of life. So it's pretty good advice across the board.
Yes, it does.
This is the Edward Jones Chatting Cage, and another fan is ready to toss a hack out there. What's your name? Where are you from? What's your question?
Hey Derek, this is Caleb from Toronto, Canada. I'm just wondering, during the baseball season, how often do you get to, I guess, even see your family or hang out with them?
Well, I don't have any kids of my own quite yet, but to go and see my mom and dad and brother, it usually takes a trip down to Arlington, Texas, which is only a 5-hour drive, or Kansas City. They may make it out once out here to see me play. So typically over the All-Star break, I'll try and make it home. If not that, probably once or twice during the season, but then the off season. So I'd probably say 2 or 3 times max.
There you have it, folks, an insight into what it really means to be a baseball player, how long that season is, and the time that you can or cannot get with your family. That's Derek Norris. I'm JB. It's the Edward Jones Chatting Cage. We go back to Twitter for the next question, BKirk210. This is a great one. I love to find these out. Derek, what's your proudest moment on the baseball field?
For me personally, my proudest moment came just a few weeks back on Mother's Day, when I hit a couple 3-run home runs. And I talked to my mom before the game started, and she goes, last year you got a hit on Mother's Day. And it was really cool, and I got to go out there, and I have one of my best career days that I've had. And you could tell it really meant a lot for her, and it was a really good moment for me too.
That is another session of the Edward Jones Chatting Cage, folks. We're out of time. I wish we didn't, but Derek's got things to do. He's got some baseball to play. Derek, you feel you make some pretty solid contact with the hacks in here in the Chatting Cage?
What's that again?
I said, do you feel like you had a pretty successful round in the Chatting Cage? Successful contact, at least?
Yeah, that was fun. That was really fun. I've never really been a part of anything like this. The only thing's over the phone, so this is actually pretty cool.
All right, well, we were really happy to have you. I know the fans were fired up at both Twitter and webcam versions, so thank you for taking your time out. And folks, that wraps up another round of the Edward Jones Chatting Cage.